to really compact Japanese maples. So ones that you might grow in a pot or grow in a tiny garden bed. So you can have, there's little tiny Japanese maples. So anybody, if you've only got the smallest garden bed. So we're ready to go live again on our other platform. So let's start again. So what it is, Japanese maples, where with birches and things like that, there's only 6 or 8 or 9 or 10 varieties on the market. With Japanese maples in Australia, you'll find that available altogether is probably 70 or 80 or 90 varieties, and worldwide is probably 200 or 300 varieties of Japanese maple. And the different Japanese maples do different things, and different Japanese maple. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to take you through all the different varieties of Japanese maple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a selection. I'm going to take you through the standard types, either like the ball on a stick ones. Then I'm going to go through the weeping ones, then the upright ones with all different coloured foliages that grow into sort of small to medium to even large trees, then the miniature ones, and then the really tough ones. If you struggle to grow a Japanese maple, I'm going to introduce you to 5 really tough types of Japanese maples that you, in the toughest one, I don't care if you're out in the Wimmera, you can grow a Japanese maple. And then I'm going to talk about some of the rare collectible ones. So if you're a bit of a collector and you want to have a Japanese maple that no one else has got, I'm going to introduce you to some of those Japanese maples. So, and one thing with Hello, I personally love Japanese maples, and I was grown up in the hills. My dad used to grow hundreds of thousands of Japanese maple from seed, and different growers who I associated with collected them and grew different grafted varieties. So I've been around Japanese maple, and you find that Japanese maples is really one of the specialties of our nursery. We stock lots of different varieties of Japanese maple, and Japanese maple are great because a lot of people have got little tiny gardens and they want to have a beautiful tree, but they don't want a great big tree. And so there's lots of Japanese maples that are tiny, small or medium size, so almost anybody can have a Japanese maple. Then people want to get some colour in their garden, and there's some amazing colours that you can get in Japanese maples. So you can get some beautiful coloured Japanese maples, and you can get Japanese maples that can grow in a pot. You'll get Japanese maples for a little tiny garden bed. You get Japanese maples if you want to make a big luxurious forest out the back of your place and grow other beautiful Japanesey sort of plants underneath. And Japanese maples can go good in a formal garden, they go great in a modern garden, they go great in a cottage garden, and they go great in a Japanese or Zen style garden. So there's lots of different applications, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to different sorts of Japanese maples, and you can work out which Japanese maples you can use for your particular garden situation. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off looking at standard Japanese maples, and the very first one is this beautiful Shana maple here. So here it is, this is your Shana maple. Now Shana maple comes out a beautiful pinky green, very dense foliage. It comes out a beautiful pinky red, and then it goes through various browny reds and various different colours, and then in autumn a lovely crimson. Now it doesn't grow, you can buy this grafted on a stem, and sometimes they graft it at about 80 centimetres like this one here, or you can buy them grafted up taller or medium size, and then they never grow more than a couple of metres taller than what you buy. So this, and a lot of people want to have a compact maple, but they don't like it weeping. Some people find the weeping maple, they think it's sad. And so they go the standard maple. So this one here gives you that beautiful bright red colour, fabulous autumn colour, lovely dense foliage, very compact if you don't want your maple to be too big. And I mean, if you give it a bit of a trim, this can be quite a tiny maple. So Shana maple, beautiful colour, lovely and compact, and available as a grafted standard in various different sizes. And this is a great one if you want to grow a Japanese maple in a pot, and it's also great for a small garden bed, or maybe you can plant a pair of them at the entrance to a stairway or something like that in the garden. And you can even do well with these in a modern or a cottage style garden. So that's your Shana maple. Now let's look at the next one. The next one is Shiraz. Now these Shiraz are fabulous. I want you to look at the colour of this foliage here. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now there's just some beautiful maples around. Now what you've got is a compact style of maple. Now your Shiraz has got beautiful sort of pink and burgundy foliage, and this will kind of change subtly through the year and end up with beautiful orange and red autumn colour in the autumn. So, and this will be a compact that's been grafted up high, so it's just a normal Japanese maple grafted at about 1.2 or 1.3 metres, and this will then grow into a beautiful round head. And because it's a fairly delicate type of maple, you wouldn't put this out in a hot afternoon sun. You'd give it a little bit of a shelter spot, maybe dappled shade or a bit of afternoon shade. So not too, because you'll find that with the variegation, it's not quite as sun hardy as some of the others. So Shiraz, amazing colour. I think we deserve a close-up of this one here. This is one of the most beautiful ones that you'll see today. So this is Shiraz, and this is neither a weeper nor an upright. It's what we call a standard Japanese maple. Now the next one is Osho Shidaro. Now here it is here. This is one that's, what a beautiful maple. This one here is not a weeper and it's not an upright. It's kind of a mushroom shaped one. Beautiful big red leaf, sort of a floating colour. And Osho Shidare, incredible crimson in the, so red, bronzy red in the spring and summer, and then an amazing crimson in the autumn. So incredible crimson in the autumn, sort of mushroom shape, not a weeper, sort of a beautiful mushroom shape, beautiful full grower. It's quite a strong grower. It'll grow to a moderate size and give you a Japanese maple with a difference, and that is called Osho Shidare. So there we are. And if you had a very big pot and you wanted something spectacular that didn't grow too big, this would be great in a big pot looking spectacular or in a nice sized garden bed. So Osho Shidare, beautiful foliage and lovely brilliant crimson autumn colour. Now this one here is a Naba Shidaro, and what you've got is beautiful dark purple foliage. Now a Naba Shidare is relatively new to Australia in Japanese maple terms. I started seeing them about 20 odd years ago, and these have absolutely revolutionised the Japanese maple market. What's happened with these is these are fast growing, they're very strong. We have them outside in the very hot sun all summer long, and they don't get any browning on the leaves whatsoever. So really extremely the most sun hardy of all your weeping maples, and they grow quickly into a big strong weeping maple. So if you want a maple like this is an enormous big maple, and you look at a maple like this and you think, wow, this must be 30 or 40 years old. It's not. This one here would have been grafted 5 or 6 years ago, and in 5 or 6 years you've got a massive maple. And with the other varieties of red maples, it would take 10 or 15 years to get a head this big. So if you want a big, bushy, beautiful maple that's very sun hardy and shade hardy, that can grow in a pot or grow in the garden, a grand Japanese maple, a Naba Shidare, relatively new on the Australian market, and it's become, this is the number of all the grafted weeping maples that we sell, this is our absolute #1 seller. It's a bit like your iceberg rose. We sell about 9 of these for every other variety of weeping Japanese maple that we sell. So a Naba Shidare, #1 for hardiness, #1 for rich colour in spring, and #1 for amazing crimson autumn colour. Beautiful Japanese maple.
Alright, just quickly say, if you wanted to hear what Chris is saying in this live, again, you can re-watch this live on YouTube after we've finished the live. It'll be posted straight away. So that one was a Naba Shidare.
So we're supposed to have Germain's Gyration next, I think. Oh. So here we are, Germain's Gyration. Now Germain's Gyration is a weeping maple, but it's a big weeping maple. This will grow. It'll crisscross and go up like that, and it'll grow out in all directions. Has a beautiful luscious leaf. I think we deserve a close up on that leaf. Have a look at that leaf there, and you'll find this a very strong and hardy Japanese maple. And if you wanted a big, spectacular, giant green waterfall with fabulous orange autumn colour, Germain's Gyration, wonderful one. And sometimes you get them grafted up quite tall, and great for a really big, spectacular Japanese maple in your garden. Germain's Duration, fabulous autumn colour and very, very fast, strong grower. It'll quickly make a beautiful big head on it. This one here, big and luscious, and the head on this is only 2 years old. And now the next one we've got is called Orangeola. Now Orangeola, very, very interesting Japanese maple. Have a look at this. Have a look at that. This is it in the autumn. Amazingly vibrant autumn colour. Look at that. Look at that in the autumn. A beautiful, vibrant autumn colour. Very interesting leaf. A kind of very sort of purpley bronze in summer, and then this incredible autumn colour. Now the thing with Orangeola is Orangeola tends, instead of growing out into a full shape like that, it tends to grow and fall downwards like that. So you'll find this to be quite hardy, but very, very sort of compact. So it's sort of a compact, neat kind of a compact, neat little sort of weeper. So this would be, if you wanted to grow one in a pot and grow it for many, many years, your Orangeola, and I've got Orangeolas here in pots that I've had for 6 or 7 years out in the nursery, and they really do well in a pot, and they stay very dense and very tight and very nice. So Orangeola, Japanese maple, #1 for amazing autumn colour. And when they colour, and we have them here in the nursery, they sell like hotcakes in colour, amazing colour. Now here we've got Autumn Fire, and now Autumn Fire, lovely fine dissected leaf on it, and a nice rich green, very, very hardy, very vigorous. This one here is only like a 2-year-old head, and it's really a decent size. And then this is amazing orange autumn colour, incredible, brilliant orange autumn colour. So really #1, you know, in green going to orange, a really, really wonderful one. And it's called Autumn Fire, and it lives up. It's just like it's like a beautiful, brilliant autumn fire. So really lovely, lovely Japanese maple. Now let's make a real spectacle out of this. Here we'll make a real impact out of it. We've got one more over here. This has to be one of my favourite weeping Japanese maples, and this very much deserves a close-up. It's called Hanamatoi, and what you've got is amazing you've got kind of a burgundy, you get burgundy foliage like this, and then you get patches of beautiful pink and burgundy foliage and little stripes of white. So amazing mix of colours, wonderful Japanese maple, and a little bit delicate, and it's quite a compact little head on it. So this would be, if you had a nice sheltered spot and a big tub, this would be a wonderful plant to have in a nice sheltered spot and in a big tub. Absolutely fabulous. Hanamatoi, great compact little Japanese maple, and really exotic with that beautiful little bit of pink in it. Perhaps I would be inclined to give this a little bit more care, a little bit more shelter than I would say something like an Inaba Shidare. But for that mixture of colour, and even in autumn, as it turns colour, you still get this lovely mix of colours in the Hanamatoi. Wonderful Japanese maple. Now have a look here. This is have a look at this leaf here. This is a very interesting leaf, and look, it's completely different to a normal Japanese maple leaf. Look at that there. So really interesting leaf, and you'll find this a vigorous, hardy, fast-growing, upright maple, and it's called Koto Komachi. And it has deeply cut foliage. It has orange and red autumn colour, and it'll grow into quite a good medium-sized tree and have the most amazing, interesting foliage in the garden. And it's a wonderful hardy tree with beautiful fine foliage and lovely orange and red autumn colour. So Koto Komachi, and what you're seeing here today, you're seeing Japanese maples that you won't see in the average garden or the average nursery. You're seeing the really, really interesting ones. Now we're going to look at one of our most popular types of maple. This one here is called Emperor One. Now Emperor One, lots of people want a large growing, vigorous type of Japanese maple with a beautiful large leaf and rich colour. And so Emperor One, beautiful, comes out dark purple in spring. Look how dark that is there. Beautiful dark purple, a large leaf, heavily cut, beautiful leaf. And this is a strong growing maple. It'll grow 4 metres tall and be really a rich dark purple colour and amazing crimson in the autumn. And this is like the Kodo Tomachi. This is a larger growing upright kind of a maple. So larger growing upright kind of a maple. And Emperor One, beautiful large upright growing maple, lovely dark foliage, and this is the sort of tree that's it doesn't weep. It'll grow 2.5 to 4 metres tall and be a beautiful bushy tree. So what we've got here is Sobold. Now Sobold, beautiful sort of lemony green fine foliage. Oh, Senkaki, sorry I didn't see. Alright, yeah, Senkaki. So here we have Senkaki. Now Senkaki would be our number 1 selling, well actually it would be our number 3 selling Japanese maple. Our number 1 selling Japanese maple in the nursery is the Inaba-shidare, and the number 2 is the plain Japanese maple. People love that because it's such a hardy, useful tree. And number 3 would be Senkaki. And the reason why Senkaki is so popular, it's a hardy, easy to grow maple, grow almost anywhere. And what it does is in winter when it's bare, it has bright crimson stems. And then in springtime, you've got beautiful pale green foliage, as you see here, lovely fine pale green foliage with the crimson stems showing through. And then as you go through summer, you get tones of pink and tones of orange. And then you go into autumn, you've got red autumn colour, and then that red autumn colour falls and back to beautiful scarlet stems. So for year-round colour, a nice 3.5 to 4 metre tree, you can trim it. And a lot of people who want to put lights on their trees go for this one here, because even in winter, with a light underneath it, it looks spectacular with its beautiful bare crimson stems. So for year-round colour, I mean, if you Google Senkaki maple and you look at the photos, you'll be amazed at the range of colours that you're going to see when you Google it. So for year-round colour, you cannot beat a Senkaki maple, and it would be the number 3 selling maple in our nursery, Senkaki maple. Now here we have Sobolde. Now Sobolde has beautiful golden foliage and it has a large leaf. And if you look at the leaf, like I'm looking at one here, actually, where's this nice one? You see, look at this leaf here, and you see, now most Japanese maple have 5 points on it, and this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It has 9 points. So beautiful, a really interesting large leaf, and it's very dense and very bushy Japanese maple, real beautiful maple that has lovely red and orange autumn colour. So Sobolde maple. A different texture, a different foliage, a very different looking maple with beautiful autumn colour. And this is an upright tree that's going to grow 3.5, 4 metres tall and form a beautiful part in the garden. Now this is probably the 4th most popular maple. This is called Bloodgood. And it's not as purple as some of the other maples, more red, but still a bit of purple in it. Now Bloodgood, lovely big dark leaf, good strong grower, 3.5, 4 metre tree, delivers beautiful colour in the garden for 9 months of the year. Dark red in the spring, more browny red through the summer, and incredible crimson in the autumn, big leaves, beautiful bushy tree, lovely full bushy tree. And what I'll do is in a larger garden, I'll often plant a Senkaki maple for light colours and a Bloodgood for darker colours, and have them contrasting each other in the landscape and looking really, really good. So Bloodgood maple, a wonderful addition to the garden. Grow this in a really large tub. You can grow it in a large tub, grow it in a courtyard, it's beautiful, or grow it out in the garden, or mass plant it, or plant it in with other coloured maples, and you'll really enjoy that beautiful Bloodgood, deep, rich red foliage. So Bloodgood maple.
Alright guys, welcome to our live on Japanese maples. Chris is going over a selection of 50 Japanese maples right now. This live started at 2 p.m. Miss Queenie's just asking what time we started. We're going to get to your if you have any Japanese maple questions, shoot them in the comments now, and Chris will answer them at the end of this live.
Okay, so what we've got here, what we're looking at now is we're now looking at compact Japanese maples. There's lots of people and they've got little tiny gardens, or they've just got a courtyard, or they've got a patio area, and they want to have a Japanese maple. They want to enjoy that Japanese maple look, and what they need is a compact Japanese maple. Now here's one called Shana. Now we showed you a Shana earlier, and the Shana was grafted up on a stem, but this Shana here has been grafted down low, and this makes a perfect compact maple. With a little bit of a trim, this could be kept at 1.5 meters in height for the rest of its life. Let go, maybe 2.5 meters is all it's going to do. It's going to be thick and bushy. It's going to be beautiful, sort of bright pinky red as it emerges in spring, going more reddy red and then browny red through the summer, and then incredible scarlet in the autumn. So it really delivers a lot of color and could do good in a pot or do good in a small garden. Shana maple, a beautiful compact maple for people that want to grow maples but don't have too much space. Now, say you've always wanted to have a bonsai. Say you've always wanted to have a bonsai, but you're not confident that you can trim or train one. Now you plant one, and this one here is called Shishigashira, and these have been really hard to find and really hard to get, but look at them, they look like old trees already. What it is, the foliage and the branches grow kind of clumpy, and when this is 10 years old, it'll only be about 1.5 meters tall, and it'll be kind of bushy with lovely clumpy foliage. And I would call this a natural, when I was writing my notes, I wrote this down, it's a natural bonsai. And so Shishigashira, even now at a couple of years old, you look at that and you see a little tiny bonsai. Now you could grow this in the garden and have a little miniature Japanese maple that looks like it's very, very old, or you can grow it in a pot, grow it on your deck, grow it in a bonsai tray, and have a natural bonsai that just bonsais itself. Shishigashira. And Shishigashira also has beautiful autumn colour, and because of the clumpy way the branches grow, even when they're bare in the winter, they look terrific.
Yes to Soji, you did miss the Hydrangea Live, but you can rewatch it on YouTube right now. It's up on YouTube, posted at Hello Hello Plants.
Yeah. Now here we've got the Kanara Pygmy. Now the Kanara Pygmy is bigger growing than the Shishigashira, but you can see it's got that same sort of clumpy habit, and with a bit of a prune you could have this in a medium-sized tub and keep it there for forever basically. Lovely little tiny Japanese maple leaves, a lovely sort of golden hue on the new growth, and lovely sort of clumpy style to it, a really beautiful one. And this would be wonderful if you were if you had a tiny garden and you wanted to have a Japanese maple that looked like a full-size one but miniature, or you had a big tub and you wanted to grow this in a tub. This will give you the full-size Japanese maple look but in compact form. So a beautiful small one, Kanara Pygmy, and again your Kanara Pygmy has beautiful red and orange autumn colour. So lovely red and orange autumn colour, beautiful fine dense foliage, and a sort of a bonsai style of growth, Kanara Pygmy. Hey, I've got a nice little one of those just out there. We could grab that one too. Yeah. Now what we have here is a very sought after maple. This is a Yatsubusa maple. And these, without any attention, will grow into the most beautiful, have a look at that photo there, the most beautiful bonsai style one here. Now these are 3-year-old seedlings, and you can see how slowly they grow. So if you want to buy a bonsai that you want to keep in a pot or keep in a tiny garden bed and you don't ever want to get it out of hand, now here we've got one, this is one here that's about 4 years old. So have a look here, this is a slightly bigger Yatsubusa here, but look at the beautiful foliage. And now what's interesting about Yatsubusa is that I've had big ones here in autumn colour, and they colour really, really slowly, and I reckon that this gives more beautiful autumn colour longer than any other maple that I've ever had. So for beautiful autumn colour that slowly turns, reaches an incredible crescendo and holds it for longer than almost any other Japanese maple, you can't beat this one here, Makawa Yatsubusa. And look at these little ones here, even as a young tree, absolutely gorgeous. Look at that there. And as a mature tree, and you can see how this just grows into a lovely leafy, natural bonsai and would look beautiful in a beautiful pot. So Makawa Yatsubusa, a fabulous small one. Now, this one here is called Butterfly. Now, when this first emerges, it has a lot of pink in it, and then as you go into summer, you get a beautiful green and white effect. And this is very much a small Japanese maple, lovely, lovely foliage. And this multicolored leaf goes right through into the sort of the red and orange autumn color, but it's a beautiful small tree. And you could grow this in the garden and have a lovely miniature Japanese maple, or grow it in a pot, grow it in your courtyard, grow it on your balcony. A beautiful, compact Japanese maple. And have a look at this. If we look at the label, you can see how it emerges in spring with the pink in it. There, look at that. Absolutely amazing when it comes in we've got one of these at home, and when it comes out in spring, it's just wonderful with its sort of pink hues. So this is called Butterfly, and this is a bit of a rare one. It's a fairly hard one to get. We've got another bit of paper. We've got another one of these. Now what we're into is we're into our tough Japanese maple. Now there's people out there, there's people living out the back of Horsham or people who say, oh, I can't grow Japanese maples because they're not tough enough for where I live. Maybe you live up a back road in Malmesbury or something like that, terrible hot winds. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a Japanese maple that you can have. And first of all, we've got the Trident maple. Now I had one of these in a house that I once had, and I loved it. It grew very quickly into a beautiful spreading tree. Its autumn colour lasted for weeks and weeks and weeks, and when the autumn colour leaves fell off, they'd stay in colour on the ground like a carpet, a beautiful carpet of fabulous colour. And have a look at the leaf. It's a three-pointed leaf, and that's why they call it a Trident maple, sometimes called Acer budrianum. Let's have a look at this down here, and that shows you it in colour. So this is a fast-growing, tough, bushy tree. And a funny thing, when I travelled in Japan and I was looking at gardens and things, I was expecting to see your normal Acer palmatum, which is your main sort of Japanese maple, everywhere. But what I saw everywhere was Trident maple. These were street trees. They were everywhere you saw Trident maples. And these, I think, could possibly be in Japan, the most popular Japanese maple. But if you live in a spot and you've been struggling to grow a Japanese maple, try a Trident maple. And a Trident maple is a seedling maple. It's its own species. It's a slightly different species to your palmatum, and it has a beautiful leaf, beautiful autumn colour. But you'll find it fast and tough, and it's not a really big tree. I had one for many, many years, and it got about 3.5 metres tall and about 4 or 5 metres wide. So lovely, bushy, spreading tree, and I love the autumn colour. And I have people often come to me and they want a Japanese maple, but they're in a hot, windy spot or a difficult spot, and I say plant a Trident maple, and this is truly a Japanese maple, and it's just as beautiful but much tougher than most other Japanese maples. Now next we've got the full moon maple. Now your full moon maple is a fast-growing 6 or 7 metre tree with a beautiful, and it's a Japanese maple. And it's again, it's a different variety to the normal one. Have a look at these leaves here. It's a Japonicum, and so your Japonicum maple, it has quite a different leaf on it, but it's still a lovely, delicate-looking Japanese maple leaf. And the autumn colour, I've done a video on the autumn colour of this. The autumn colour on this is out of this world. Absolutely amazing, totally fantastic. I've done a video on it. It is awesome autumn colour. And so Acer japonicum, great for autumn colour, beautiful luscious tree, grows perhaps 6, 7, 8 metres tall, lovely and bushy, and lovely and lush and green in spring, lush and green through the summer, and then amazing autumn colour, and a really hardy Japanese maple that's going to thrive in the sort of spot where you've been struggling to grow a Japanese maple. Now, this one here is your Shantung maple, and this one here is very, very closely related to your Acer palmatum or your Japanese maple. Amazing autumn colour, but super duper hardy. And this is the Japanese maple that comes from China. So not quite fully Japanese. But what's interesting is a lot of the Japanese maples now that you buy are actually grafted onto this, and it's very, very closely related to the Japanese maple, just a slightly different species. But if you're struggling to grow Japanese maple, but you want the autumn colour, you want the lusciousness, you want the beautiful fine foliage, your Shantung maple is going to grow in, and that's why people are grafting. They're grafting Japanese maples onto Shantung because it makes a much tougher, faster, more vigorous maple. It's a really powerful, strong understock. But in its own right, these in autumn colour out of this world. I think you need to have a close look at that label there. Just fabulous autumn colour. So for fabulous autumn colour. And so what I'm doing is I'm offering 5 different maples that you can plant if you've always wanted a Japanese maple but thought your place is too hot, too windy, the soil's too terrible. You know, these are the sort of maples that you can grow. Then you've got your Japanese maple. Now, lots of people say to me, they say, look, your Japanese maple, what's that? These are all Japanese maples. But what you've got is you've got what's called Acer palmatum, and most Japanese maples start out as this. What happens is that they grow this one from seed. These seed prolifically. They grow them from seed, and then they graft the different, for all those different varieties that we've been seeing today are all grafted onto this one here. They're all grafted onto the Japanese maple, or nearly all grafted onto the Japanese maple. And then you have your different varieties like your Shiraz and your Inaba Shidari. But then you have your plain Japanese maple. And what's interesting, a lot of things that they use for grafting understocks are not beautiful in themselves, but I think that a plain seedling Japanese maples is one of the most beautiful trees in the world. It's a strong grower. It grows perhaps 5 or 6 metres tall, 4 or 5 metres wide, gets a beautiful trunk, lovely multi-branched habit, and beautiful in autumn colour. The colours tend to go yellow, red, orange, burgundy. You get a whole mix of colours in the autumn. And what you'll find with your basic seedling Japanese maple, what you'll find is they're tough, they're versatile. You can grow them almost anywhere. So much tougher than most of the grafted and select forms of them. So Japanese maple, this is your plain basic seedling, and it's a completely valid species on its own. And then we've got another one called Herzviewer. And anyway, what you'll find, this is another cultivar. It's a grafted Japanese maple. It has a really beautiful leaf. It has beautiful orange and red autumn colour. And you'll find this is a fast-growing, strong, big tree with beautiful foliage, beautiful autumn colour, really, really lovely. And it's called Herzviewer. And so it's a really lovely... Japanese maple. And if you want something big and tough, there's 5 really nice big tough ones. Now I just quickly wanted to show a couple that didn't quite make it onto our list today. This one here, very hard to find this one here. I want to talk about this one here. This one here is an Acer japonicum, and it's one of the hardest Japanese maples to get. And the reason is it's slow growing, it's difficult to graft. This tree here is probably 4 or 5 years old, and basically this is a Japanese maple that loves to grow in the shade, and with its fabulous golden foliage it virtually glows in the shade. So for a really different sort of a Japanese maple, and some people call this a golden full moon maple. The other maple I think I'd like to show is the Nishiki Fountain. If you just grabbed in the Nishiki Fountain, we'll have a look at that. So this one here, grow it in the shade. It's an Acer japonicum, and it's sometimes called a full moon or a golden full moon. And have a close-up of the foliage. It's a beautiful foliage. Look at that there. And this is a bit of a collector's item. This is not something to whack out in the middle of the front lawn. This is you've got to choose the right spot for this. Lovely autumn colour, wonderful maple, but choose the right spot. Really, it's got to be out of the hot afternoon sun and will do really, really well in the shade. And then what's interesting about Japanese maples is my dad used to grow Japanese maples, and I was brought up in the hills where lots of people cultivate Japanese maples, and every year I see a Japanese maple I've never seen before. And about 3 years ago, I started seeing these ones here. They're still very, very rare. And this one here is called a Nishiki Fountain. And what this has your standard Japanese maple leaf. All the other weeping maples that I've seen all have finely dissected leaves. That's the common denominator. But this one here has the normal Japanese maple leaf, a beautiful strong weeping habit. And the autumn colour on this one here is absolutely fabulous. So incredible autumn colour, Nishiki Fountain. And I think this is one of the most beautiful Japanese maples around. And I've also found it to be really, really hardy. So it's, I keep a few of these in the nursery all the time, and it's a beautiful hardy Japanese maple. Very, very strong growing, fills out very quickly. And I love the foliage, and I love the autumn colour. And this is called a Nishiki Fountain. So that's a wrap-up. Now that's not a wrap-up of far from all the different Japanese maples. This is a wrap-up of a selection of Japanese maples that gives you a standard maple, a weeping maple, an upright maple, a miniature or compact maple, and something really rare and wonderful. And I finished off with a few really rare, wonderful ones there, like the Golden Full Moon and the Nishiki Fountain. So thank you very much, and now what I'll do is I'll answer your Japanese maple questions.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions for this live, and thank you to everyone who's watched us and left your questions in the comments section. We'll now be answering them live. We've only got a few minutes left of this live, but let's get stuck into them, Chris. So Katie asks, is there a maple that doesn't shed leaves?
No, and the sneaky little thing that I do is I get people to come in and they want that lovely weeping habit and they want a bit of colour in the foliage, and there's no Japanese maple that stays evergreen and delivers that type of foliage. But what I use is an Agonis Burgundy to have that sort of mapley effect in a garden, and evergreen with a bit of colour in the foliage. So Agonis Burgundy is the closest you'll come to an evergreen maple, which has nothing to do with Japan. It's an Australian native, beautiful tree though, and it can give you that evergreen maple look.
Sounds nice. All right. Yeah. The Lovely Taylors asks, do you ship to California?
No, I don't. I have shipped once to California. I shipped some trees there once, but no, not in recent times.
No worries.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry about that. But I think you'll find, if you look around, there's lots and lots of grafted Japanese maples in America, and if you find yourself a good nursery, you should be able to get some beautiful weeping maples. A lot of the varieties that are here have been imported from North America.
Yeah, great. Vishy Doc asks, does Shishigashira do well indoors?
What you could do with Shishigashira, and with all maples, my mum used to grow quite a lot of them in pots, and as they turned into autumn colour, they'd come in and they'd go on the coffee table or in the kitchen, and we'd enjoy them in the house in their autumn colour, and they seem to be very happy in the house in their autumn colour. And it's a great thing to bring your potted ones indoors in autumn colour and enjoy them.
Perfect. All right, Densham asks, what Acer palmatum cultivar has the tiniest leaf you have at the moment?
Okay, that was the tiniest leaf was that Shishigashira.
Oh, it was Shishigashira. Okay,
yeah,
it's got the tiniest leaf. Yeah. Okay, there you go. That should answer that. Any Shindashojos? Wall Street's asking. Shindashojos?
We do Shindashojo. Unfortunately, I didn't put it in the selection that we have today, but that is a beautiful Japanese maple.
Okay. Sarah asks, my Japanese maple is getting crispy leaves when it's warm. What can I do?
What you need to do is perhaps plant it in a more sheltered position, and then in the warm weather, water it once every day. Give it a really good water every day. Give it a more sheltered, perhaps a bit of afternoon shade, and then on really hot days, water it twice a day.
All right, double watering, Sarah, should sort it out on the hot days. All right, Fairy Fox asks, is there anything I should do for a Japanese maple that's not a dwarf and very mature? Anything I should do?
Cherish it. Yeah, like really,
it's
a big Japanese maple. Japanese maple like if it's got too big, consider pruning it, and a good time to prune it would be June or July. and give it a good hard prune, and you'll find that you can prune your Japanese maples quite hard.
All right, perfect. And Sarah asks another question: any companion suggestions for companion trees for a Sango Kaku maple?
Okay, Sango Kaku, I often plant just near the base when I'm doing garden designs. I'll often plant a Plum Gorgeous Laura Petala, because the Sango Kaku has got lots of yellows and soft greens in it, and the dark purple in the Plum Gorgeous really contrasts beautifully. And then around that I'll often do like Lime Lavas, which are beautiful limey sort of green. So you've got lovely bright greens, beautiful dark purples, and then the lovely bright yellowy green of your Sango Kaku.
All right, there you go, Sarah. Cherry asks, can you grow them in North Queensland?
At altitude, I've seen. You'd have to go right up high in the tablelands, and you could grow Japanese maples. And I've actually seen them growing up there. But down on the coast, they'll die a miserable death in that steaming rain and heat.
All right, so up in the altitudes will get you by North Queensland?
Yeah, high altitude North Queensland, yeah.
All right, the producer's saying there's one last question. I'm just struggling to find it there. Thanks again to everyone for all your comments, and appreciate you joining us on this live here today. I think that might be everything. I can't see another. Is there another question? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Now, for more information on Japanese maples, go to the Japanese maple page at Hello Hello, and you'll see the prices and sizes and all of the varieties that we've got available. And we have a surprisingly large number available, and on the website you'll find descriptions of each of those. And yeah, so we love our Japanese maples, and we carry a really wonderful range of different heights and sizes. And the idea is we want to give everybody access to great Japanese maples by having them different sizes, different ages, different prices. So if you want a big one or a little one, a cheap one or a very expensive one, you'll find an amazing range of both varieties, sizes and prices on our Japanese maple page. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.